The SPC module, and actually all the MES modules, support what we call additional factors. And these are just user-defined data that you want to collect along with something else. So in the OE module, it will be collected along with production runs. In the SPC module, though, it will be additional data that is stored along with whenever a sample is taken. So if we have the database over here, and we have in this location, we have ignition running. We'll show it as a box. And inside of that, we have the SPC module running. Okay, out here we might have some clients running. Okay, and the clients are connected to the ignition server here. And let's say we have a sample entry here. Now samples could be manually entered like this, where you have edit boxes. Maybe you have viscosity, temperature. And when data is entered here, it's sent over to here. Now we could also have values collected automatically from maybe a PLC or an instrument or several different sources, and we'll get into that more later. But we have sample data that comes in, and that sample data gets written to the database. So we have a table that has the sample information, and the type of information in that is, you know, who entered by, the person that entered it, the date and time, um, all kinds of information like that. And we also have measurements. So underneath the sample table, we have a measurement or data table, sample data table, and we'll have the, basically viscosity, and maybe it's 10,000, and temperature 86.2. So every sample taken, we have, multiple measurements that we put in there. So that's stored over in the database. But if we started wanting to track some additional information, maybe the raw material lot number. Um, how do we do that? Okay, we use additional factors. So it could be on this screen. They put in their lot number over here. It could be any tag in ignition. So it could be product code, lot number, subassembly number, serial numbers, all that kind of thing. So we have these tags, and we configure the SPC module, these additional factors, to read these tags. So anytime a sample is written, those values are also written to the database. So those additional factors also get sent along with there. So we have another table down here, which is additional factors. And now, so the raw material lot number, maybe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that, also gets written down. So for every sample, we have these additional factors that got saved as well, along with measurements and all kinds of other information. So the beauty of that is now when I want to pull out, and in another client here, I want to say I want to display a control chart. Okay, I can say, give me all the sample data for the raw material lot number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe I have 100 different lot numbers. I don't know. It will go out, query the database with that criteria. It will only limit and pull back the sample data with that lot number and then display that in the control chart. So I can have any number of the additional factors added, and I can filter that data by that lot number or report by that lot number as well. Now we said an additional factor is attached to a tag. So if we have our tags over here in our tag browser and we have a lot number and we also have a temperature, for example, or something like that. Two different tags. Now the data type of this one might be a string. This one might be a float. So the type of data type here is significant because if you have a string and the lot number, over a shift maybe I have 25, maybe I have 1,000 even different lot numbers that come through my processing facility. But temperature, well, if I take a look at that over time, if, and this is temperature, and it's doing all kinds of stuff. Like this, over a shift, I'm going to have thousands of values that change. So what happens is when I get over into my control chart over here, and I say I want to filter on, temperature equals 30.25. I may get one sample. If I'm lucky, if there's one entry in there that's 30.25. It's just not too practical to filter on a numeric value. But a string value, you have a very certain value that was entered, and then we can filter on that. So even though you might have a lot number that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you store it in a string type tag, then you can filter on it in the control charts, where temperature you cannot. So this is not really an option to set up an additional factor that is a float and then be able to filter on it in your control charts. Whereas the string type, lot number as a string 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is able to be filtered in your control charts. So that's an important aspect to understand about additional factors. Next, we'll take a look at actually configuring an additional factor in Ignition. So let's first start out by adding a tag. I'm going to make it simple for this demo here. And we'll just add a memory tag, and I'll just add it right to the root. And I'll call it lot number. And we'll set it to a string type. So there's lot number. Now obviously I'd organize that better in different folders and things like that. If I come up to line 1 SPC here, we see that location, we see additional factors. I right click on there and click new, and we'll call this, let's call it raw material lot number. And you come down and you select your tag, lot number. And that's really all there is to configure it. Now, We'll enable writes, set a value in here. And this could be set from a user screen. It could come from an external database, come from a PLC. It really doesn't matter where it comes from. We're just going to take a look at this tag, and whatever value's in it, we're going to save that value along with our sample data. And it's going to be attached to that sample. So now we can, like I've said, filter on it or do other things, compare by that, things like that.